we never sell to companies in the B2B world. Never. We sell to people, it's always people. It's true that it's different than B2C. Okay. B2C and B2B are two different worlds, but
Yeah.
it's not that here you're selling to people and here you're selling to companies. No. Here you're selling to a person that works in a company, and that person has different things in mind and different things to validate, given that he or she is in a company and not by themselves buying something. So if you're a buyer in a company, the first thing that we as suppliers need to keep in mind is that this person has a reputation to protect.
What belief do you have about Caudal and the change that it could mean for the companies you work with?
Okay. Oh, that's a profound question. Okay. Let me start saying that now that the technologies are becoming more powerful and more accessible with generative AI, okay, I think that we can divide, and I'm oversimplifying here, okay, but I think we can divide companies' leadership in two ways of thinking, okay? One way of thinking, which I believe is a minority and I hope remains a minority, is, oh, I'm gonna say to my tech department, to my tech people, and the tech people is always a few. Like, I'm gonna say to my tech people that they should create agents and replace the rest of the employees. Okay, that's one way of leadership. It's like that way of leadership is tech is more important than people. You see?
Yes.
Okay. Which might apply in some types of companies, honestly. But the other way of leadership, which I think is more applicable to corporations that are based on humans, okay, human services, human relationships between their employees, with suppliers, with customers. The other way of thinking is, I have thousands or hundreds of employees. I have invested on them. They are my culture. They are the basis of my company. And I want to ensure that they use the right technology to be more productive, okay? So this leadership style is more values the people they have, and the technology is something that they want to make accessible for them, okay?
Yes.
So that's our type of client, okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So that's the first thing that we do. We have to, we write a lot on the press. We talk about this on LinkedIn, on podcasts. We want to identify this type of leaders, and actually promote that this is a type of leadership that should exist in our economies. Okay, so that's the right approach. And going back to your question, that's our main belief, that AI and other emerging technologies are here to augment our human capacities, but human potential, it is and it always will be the main pillar of our society and economic growth. Yeah. Okay.
No, I love it. It's amazing to see what you're doing so far. Just so that everyone that's listening can understand. So you've been working on Caudal, but that was not the start of your professional journey. First, you were a little bit more than 12 years, like a big executive in Procter and Gamble. You've flown all over. Since then, you were already like a digital native, living in different countries. Then, at some moment of time, your partner started Laboratoria and you jumped in. Everyone should know that your partners are very close friends and husbands and everything. So that's how Laboratoria starts, with this great mission of helping women get into tech, right? And this started like 10 years ago. It's an NGO. It operates like in different rules of engagement than traditional startup, which is the typical founders that are listening to us now. And then Caudal started like around 3 years ago. in Peru, and as you said, you've been growing to other countries. So to it operates in four countries. The last of it is Guatemala. What would you say your main inflection points were when it comes to big sales learnings, right? In your case,
Mhm,
you've had lots of different schools. I don't know if it was the Procter and
mhm,
Gamble school or if it was
mhm,
Laboratoria school, but
mhm,
if you would have to remember to the three biggest moments or three biggest ahas,
mhm.
I mean, good ahas or bad ahas, what would they be when it comes to learnings, when it comes to sales?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think that the most important thing to feel comfortable selling something is to truly believe that what you're selling is absolutely needed and meaningful, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I and that belief that I have something that other people in the world needs and that is going to make their life better, that is what has driven my changes in P&G, in Laboratoria, and Caudal. Okay.
We say many times, like the first big change that you have to actually be better at sales is to believe in
Hmm.
yourself. Because
Hmm.
many times people feel uncomfortable in sales or feel diminished.
I do feel uncomfortable on sales, but
But
my tool to remove that discomfort is go back to my belief, and 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 let me. I just want to clarify something because it's not any belief, because we can believe a lot of crap things. you know? Uh, no, the thing is that the idea is not to be stubborn on, oh, I think this is important, blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. You have to believe, but with your eyes open to the opportunity, no? And your belief and what you create, it has to live on an intersection. So let me clarify what I mean about the intersection. Whatever
okay.
you sell, it has to be on an intersection of what the market needs
Hmm.
and what you're good at and what you're passionate about. Okay,
Yeah,
because there are
I
a lot
think
of
you're missing
needs
one
in the
more,
market.
and we have the ikigai intersection.
Maybe, yeah, 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 yeah. I have seen those charts somewhere. No, but seriously, I cannot be like super stubborn and I love this and this should exist in P&G or in Laboratoria or in Caudal if this is something that the market is not asking for. So it has
So
to be on that intersection, no?
I completely agree. So
Mm-hmm.
there obviously has to be a need and a market, right? I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
have something, but your something is not there to just exist. Your something
Yeah.
is there to solve someone's issues. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the intersection happens in a typical sale,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
have to, first of all, make sure that there's a big issue happening in whomever you're talking with and discover
Mm-hmm.
what that is for them. And
Mm-hmm.
then perhaps you're going to be able to do business.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that you're in front of the right person and this potential
Mm-hmm.
intersection exists because you're both potentially interested, it can still happen that you're falling short on thinking that you're both equally important to solve an issue, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that you're there if you actually do business in the
Mm-hmm.
B2B world, it's not a one-off business, right? It's a relationship that's going to be
Yeah.
renewing itself through time. So you're going to be
Yeah.
persistently adding value and so on and so forth. So you're in a co-creation of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's very important for founders that are maybe uncomfortable at selling to always go back and to understanding that they're as important in this conversation as the counterpart because
Mm-hmm.
if they don't believe that then they're going to be in what we call a different business stature, right? Like the big
Mm-hmm.
boss that has all the budget and you're
Mm-hmm.
fighting for the budget, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
the best stature when you actually
Mm-hmm.
want to close business. I don't know if you
Yeah.
want if you agree or want to add anything to that.
No, I totally agree. One thing that I always keep in mind, and I talk about it in my mentorships with other entrepreneurs and people, is that we never sell to companies in the B2B world. Never. We sell to people, you know. It's always people. It's true that it's different than B2C. Okay. B2C and B2B are two different worlds, but
Yeah.
it's not that here you're selling to people and here you're selling to companies. No.
Mm.
Here you're selling to a person that works in a company, and that person has different things in mind and different things to validate, given that he or she is in a company and not by themselves buying something. So if you're a buyer in a company, the first thing that we as suppliers need to keep in mind is that this person has a reputation to protect. Okay, they have a
Mhm.
role, they have a manager, they don't want to screw up, to do the wrong thing. So they need a lot of reassurance that you are the right supplier for the company, that you are what this company needs. And sometimes they are not even a buyer, they are an influencer. So they want to promote and suggest Caudal inside their company, and they should be feeling that they're doing the right thing for their company, you see. So you need to provide that credibility, that validation. You need to give them materials where they can share internally what Caudal is about and how to start. You need to give them the step by step. You need to be patient with them because they're going to ask a lot of questions. Their companies have silos. Like sometimes they listen to you in a moment where they are interested in Caudal and in your services, but they cannot hire it right now because they don't have the budget, but they want to consider it for next year. So these are things that only exist in the B2B world, and I'm more familiar with the corporate world.
Yeah.
But you need to understand them and play with them and kind of be on their rhythm, maybe a little bit faster because they need to be faster, but you cannot pretend that they're going to be as fast as a B2C decision will be made. Never, never, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, so I want
Mhm.
to a little bit unwind some things that you said because they're pretty interesting. First of all, you said in the bigger the company, the bigger the steps, right? Because you're going to be
Mhm.
talking about likely one of many stakeholders within the
Mhm.
company, and it's always like a
Mhm.
step-by-step approach. You need to
Mhm.
get your first believer, which is the first
Mhm.
person you talk to, and make sure that they're as excited as you are to make this happen so that they can
Mhm.
pass the word forward, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. You have to be building champion by champion up till you
Mhm.
get to cover all the important stakeholders. But it's
Mhm.
important to note that, as you said, I mean, beyond this whole idea of the champion and how you make sure that they have the proper energy to pull this forward, is the fact that they're human beings.
Mhm.
And this person that has a responsibility also has its own personal priorities. So many times when we're talking to founders, we have to tell them dig deeper than whatever you think is the superficial problem or the business problem, because
Mhm.
this business problem does not only have a corporate impact. This business
Mhm.
problem likely has a very specific impact in the person you're talking to, and you want to know what that is,
Mhm.
because if it matters for him, then he'll have enough interest and energy to move it internally and so on and so forth. So it's always
Mhm.
good to understand that beyond the company, whomever you're talking to is a person, and you need to
Mhm.
understand what's important for them. And then
Mhm.
obviously understand that the bigger the company, the more the stages, and every
Mhm.
time you have to make sure that
Mhm.
whomever's your champion at different stages
Mhm.
has enough conviction in you to move the
Mhm.
ball forward.
Mhm.
However, this may happen, but
Yeah.
I
I
like
mean,
the fact that you pointed out.
having said that, you probably have covered this terms in your podcast, but you need to have your ICP and your buyer persona super clear, no?
Yes.
It's not anyone, but you need to know which is the type of company that has a potential to get interested in your product. In our case, in Kaudal, is companies that prioritize improving labor productivity with technology. And we know that they are more on this second group of putting their talent first, So we research a lot about what the CEOs of the companies are saying, okay? If we have the opportunity, we sell directly to the CEO, which is great. That's amazing because they listen to you and they assign someone to take the decision, but it comes down from the CEO, and we do some sales based on that. But if the CEO is not reachable by us, we know who to reach, and we know that is the leader of the technology department or the leader of the HR department, because those are the two doors that could be open for us. If it is technology, we say to them, hey, we know you're overwhelmed with all the internal requirements that you get. With Kaudal, you can lower those internal requirements because we can teach the business areas how to automate themselves and how to use AI, and we're going to give a control tower to you so you can control everything. That's our speech to IT. And by the way, let's involve HR in the process, because given that we're going to teach people how to use these tools, we need to involve HR. And if we get through HR, we tell them, hey, we know that you are responsible of making your people more digital, building digital skills. We know what your CEO is saying, okay? So this is what we offer in Kaudal. We teach people how to use the tools that they have. By the way, let's involve IT because they need to supervise how the people are using the tools. So that needs to be super clear how, which type of company, which type of leadership, and which are the doors where you enter. And once a door is open, which other people you should involve, and also give them the materials to involve that other people. That's why we have the calculator in Kaudal, which is free, which is an instrument to measure the automation opportunities on every role and the amount of hours people could release, because that internal conversation about Kaudal is way more meaningful, impactful, and more convincing with data.
Completely.
And that's what the calculator is all about. That's why we give it for free. Okay.
Something very interesting that you said is, first of all, you separated, and I'm going to talk back something we mentioned before. You separated, there's two types of people, right? Within globally speaking, in the people who can actually be your potential customers, one which are and one which aren't. But you said the first one believe that humans are more important than technology, and that the technology can be put at service for them. Hence, those are the ones who want to work with. And on the other hand, you have people who believe that human workforce is completely replaceable, and they want to put all in IT, and that we're not going to go there. And that's so important, because something we always tell the founders is to lead with their beliefs. Why? Because when your beliefs are aligned, you're more likely to do business. In this case, that's why it's so, I mean, not the exact reason why you decided to go that way. I'm sure that you did lots of tests in between and you figured it out. But knowing that is so important, because it facilitates all the conversations. And let's imagine that for some moment you're talking to someone that's from the other belief set. Is it worth your time? And many times the answer is no, because you're going to be in a never-ending process that you don't know where it stalled. And maybe it stalled in the first conversation that they didn't believe in you to start with.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I speak to that other group of leaders, but when I am in a broad audience, because I know that they are there, So I get invited to write on the press in Peru every month. And I have written columns that transmit or communicate the message of, before replacing people, you need to ensure that you replace manual tasks. And this is one of the most thin columns that I have wrote, because and it was tailored to this type of person that wants to reduce headcount immediately. It's like, and I have talked directly with them too about it, but I don't waste that much time. But I write about it, I create presentations about it, because it doesn't make sense actually. If you're a corporation that is based already in thousands and hundreds of employees, I already know, because we have measured this with a calculator, that half of the time these people is working, they're doing manual tasks that could be automated. So if based on that math, you say, oh, half of the work my people is doing could be automated, let's cut my people in half. So now instead of 1,000 employees, I have 500. If you do that, those 500 are gonna stay with the half of the manual work they do, and half of the manual work those other 500 used to do, and they're gonna collapse. You see?
Yeah, and you're gonna have a bigger problem.
Exactly. And the other thing is that if you have 1,000 employees and you have only a few that can create agents, okay, they are not going to be able to create agents to replace the manual tasks of all these people. So, so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to start cutting headcount. You need to try first to equip your people with technology, have more people capable of using technology to augment their capacity, okay, invest on that talent, and then if you see, then after a couple of years trying this, if you see that there are people that are reluctant to adopt technology, then you can say goodbye to them, okay? But not before, And the other thing that you cannot do is to anticipate who is going to adopt technology, because I have seen a lot of surprises. Oh, we weren't expecting that this guy with the lab coat and doing this chemical thing in the lab, we didn't know that he was going to do 5 automation. Yeah, he did 5, and he changed the entire lab.
No, I
Yeah.
love it. And there's something very interesting you said that you were writing. And that leads me to a question, because this is not a typical approach for any founder like doing tech. They don't go to publicity as means to get themselves known, even if it could or could not work for them. So my question comes to, what of your experience with Laboratoria and making Laboratoria known, big, and all this relationship-based business has worked for you when it comes to doing business in Caudal? I mean, what learnings from this NGO-driven initiative do you believe have been useful when it comes to, I don't know, whatever you feel important when it comes to selling?
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that public show up publicly makes sense, but you have to be strategic. Okay? I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be talking in LinkedIn or in Instagram about whatever you want. No, that's not the idea. I do believe that you should have a flag. That's the only thing that I can think about right now. It's like you're holding a flag, you want and it's an important flag, and you want the world to pay attention to this flag. Yeah. So that's what I have always done in P&G, in Laboratoria, and in Caudal, with my team, of course, with my team. The thing is that always I have been like the main believer on that marketing strategy. It's like we need to be positioned about something. Inside P&G, I was the crazy girl, and I remember that people used that wanted the P&G brands to do more social brand marketing to differentiate themselves, and people knew I was that person. Then Laboratoria was holding the flag of women in tech. and not actually not any women, low income women in tech and technology could be a path to financial improvement for women from low income backgrounds, and that was our flag, you know.
Hmm.
And 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 when you gain a Microsoft a microphone, sorry, no, not Microsoft, you say that it's not we do this in laboratoria. No, we need more women in tech because of this, because of that, you know. And our flag in Caudal is every employee, not only the techie ones, every person in every corner of a company deserve to augment their capacities with technology. That's convenient for the person, is convenient for the company, is convenient for our economies, is convenient for our countries, you know? That's our
Hmm.
flag, okay? We don't even talk, every time I write on the press, we don't talk about Caudal. But of course, Caudal is a solution for people that want to hold that flag with you know? But it's one of the solutions, it's one, you know?
So
Yeah.
what if I understood correctly, when you say in your case holding a flag has been very useful,
Yes.
what the flag means is a strong belief about how the society
Hmm.
should work, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you shared the
Mm-hmm.
story in Procter where you believe that the brand could do more than just
Mm-hmm.
invest in
Mm-hmm.
marketing, actually have a true impact in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you were a
Mm-hmm.
very ambassador of that change. And you also said share that you believed in laboratorias, but not only in laboratoria, but the cause behind laboratoria, right? The
Mm-hmm.
cause was helping low-income women, and the cause behind Caudal is or can be like making sure that everyone has access to being techie within their companies,
Uh-huh.
and the impact that that means. So beyond the
Yes.
company,
Mhm.
it's the belief that the company can serve to a better world, right? And connecting through
Yes, but
that
also
story.
serve, yes, but also serve itself.
Of
Because
course.
let's
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
be
yeah,
clear. Let's be clear. I mean, I cannot say to a company, hold this flag for the well-being of society. No, it's
yeah. Hmm.
hold this flag for the well-being of society and also because it's going to be good for your company. Yeah. And that's
Yes.
where the intersection is. You always have to give something better than what they have. Uh, um, Cost saving, market share, growth, you know. For example, in Laboratoria, our cost was more women in tech and technology as a means of financial improvement for low income women. Yes.
Hmm.
But when we went to companies, we never said to them, please hire our low income women,
Of
do
course.
them a favor. No, 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 no. It was like, hey, you need more diversity in your tech team. It's only guys. You need women. You need more developers in general. But it's convenient to have diversity because diverse team are more creative. They are more productive. Blah blah blah. And our girls are equipped with the frameworks, languages, projects-based learnings that you need. And actually, the hiring method of Laboratoria was very innovative. We did hiring hackathons. So we
Hmm.
said to the companies, they were called Talent Fest. We said to the companies, give me a tech problem that you have, and I'm gonna set up a squad of laboratorians, designers, and developers to solve it for you. Give me the tech problem, give me the product manager, and they're gonna be working with you in a week. And if you like them, you hire them. You see,
Hmm.
so it's not based only on my flag that is convenient for them and for the society. It's based also on what they need at the moment.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, and just so
But
just to remember,
going back to what we talk publicly, when you are
uh-huh.
not selling to a specific person, you're talking to the world. In that moment, you talk more emotionally and more like in a movement mindset about the flag. That's what I meant.
Yes, I completely agree. So first of all of the founders we work with and that listen to this podcast, our tech founders have been accelerated. And
Mhm.
what I want to highlight of what you just said is that one of the things that they're struggling with very much is being relevant when the people that they're talking to are persistently being spammed in all digital means
Mm-hmm.
by so many people wanting to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
And something that they could consider is if, like in your case, they have a flag of
Mm-hmm.
what could the world be like if they're successful,
Mm-hmm.
but more,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they allow themselves to share that story, they can
Mm-hmm.
be then invited to talk about it, to have
Yes.
press, to
Yes.
talk about things, and then by default they'll get in the comfort zone. I mean,
Yes.
in the confidence zone of people
Confidence
that
zone.
they couldn't be talking otherwise, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody has their barriers up some form or the other. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have something you both care about and you start talking, it can be coffee sometimes, it can be
Mm-hmm.
music, and in this case, it can be
Mm-hmm.
a cause. And
Mm-hmm.
when they see you at a stage or when they read about you in the
Mm-hmm.
news, you're suddenly someone of authority on something,
Yes.
and you're no longer a stranger.
Yes.
So that's something that people listening could consider.
Yeah.
One thing, like
And
if you have a
yes.
bigger
Yes.
flag, allow yourself to talk about it so
Yeah.
that you can be given more spaces that you would be
Yeah.
otherwise, right?
Yeah, and you don't need to be famous to do this, okay? You don't need to be on a big stage to do it. I'm not famous, by the way, but sometimes I get the opportunity to talk in a big stage, okay? But if you don't have this, you don't need it to start. I mean, you can start um, using your LinkedIn and reaching leaders on LinkedIn, but very strategically. I mean, not going, hey, I have this software that does blah, 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 but instead, like, hey, for example, um, I have this belief. Let's say that my belief is I have this belief that technology should serve human and employees and not otherwise. And I'm starting a newsletter for the leaders that have this belief. Do you want to join my newsletter? Something
Hmm.
like that. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, and you start from zero. I mean, at some point in time, if you're consistent on talking on your LinkedIn, on your podcast about one thing in different ways, but one thing, you're gonna get invited to the stage where you want to be, to the press where you want to be. Um, but that's what I mean about a strategic. Talk about something big, something relevant, where you are part of the solution, but not directly just about your solution. You know?
It leads me to a different idea that sometimes it's very famous in the techie world, and it's like doing things that don't scale. In this case, this talking persistently about something, sometimes people are just taken off by it because it's going to take so much time to actually get it work. But on the other hand, maybe that's exactly what you have to be doing because
Yeah.
that's the only way someone is going to pay attention to you, and maybe
No,
not
no,
otherwise.
I can totally guarantee you that it works. You
Okay.
don't know, you don't know how many times it has happened to me, things like this, and they're beautiful to hear. It's like suddenly someone puts me a meeting on my calendar, okay? Because my calendar is on my LinkedIn, no? So I get a meeting, and I don't know what it is about, no? But I take the meeting, okay? And this person tells me, this happened to me. I mean, it's a real story. Like, in March, I heard you in a conference or in a panel where you said this thing about, technology equipping humans. And since then, I have had this posted in my computer to call you in the right time when my company was ready to hire our services. And that's why I book you a meeting with you right now. Like, 9 months after, you see. Okay. And that was great. Okay. And they're gonna be a
Yes.
customer of Kaudal now. Okay.
Yes, and it's a great story, and it's a great example
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
allowing yourself to talk about
Mhm.
that impact that your company could potentially do, and not just about hiring your services, because that's not what people want to hear about. They
Mhm.
want to hear about things that matter to them. And if you do it
Exactly.
persistently, if you allow yourself to be on stage, to be in different stages. That's important. Why? Because then you're no longer a stranger. You're someone who's opinionated about something, and people who have the
And
common
who is
opinions
talking
and
about
beliefs.
a bigger issue, not only about, this is Kaudal, this is what we do, these are the specific of our software. No, this is a problem in the world. And leaders are in these two areas. And we want more leaders to think about this and not thinking about replacing humans with agents. Who is with me? This is that's. Mhm.
No, I love it. Now, as a woman,
Mhm.
has anything, I mean, has there been anything specifically challenged because of being a woman or not? Or what, if any, advice could you give to other women that have to be in front of companies?
Yeah. I, First, let me say that given that I'm a Laboratorian founder and we have worked both in Caudal and Laboratoria, but so many years, especially in Laboratoria, about building confidence in women, okay?
Hmm.
Um, I'm a very confident woman, okay?
Okay.
But maybe I wasn't like this some years ago, but I have had a lot of preparation on this, for for the people that works in Laboratoria and for the women that we train in our boot camp, okay? So it's not that I don't deal with the issues, I mean, but I have a lot of techniques and beliefs to fight those issues, okay?
And if you
Um,
have to share some to
yeah,
whomever's
I'm gonna go
listening.
there. I'm gonna go there. One of the main beliefs that data says that is more present in women than men, but it also exists on men, no? But it's the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
It's like, oh, uh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready, and I get intimidated by this sale because I'm gonna sell to this guy that works in is the CTO of this big company, and I get afraid. So that imposter syndrome, there are different ways to fight it. Okay. One, of course, is preparation. Of course, if you prepare yourself for the meeting, researching about the company, about the person, about your product,
Hmm.
that preparation gives you confidence. Okay.
Yes.
That's one thing. Okay. The other thing that I know it helps a lot is to think about the human, not the role, not the company. You see, you're talking to another human. Okay.
Hmm.
No, not the CTO of Globant or Procter and Gamble. No, you're talking to a
Yes.
human. Okay. Okay. The other thing that helps a lot is to think that even if that person is more senior than you and earns more money than you know, that person sometimes in the past was exactly where you are or lower than where you are. It's just a person with more years of experience, but it doesn't mean that it's superior than you. Who says that?
Mm.
That I don't believe in the stereotype of success. So that's
Okay.
another thing. Think of the person as a human. Don't think about the role of the company. Think about the person that is exactly like you or some point in time have been exactly like you. Okay.
Hmm.
And and the other thing that helps a lot is don't try to be perfect. Once we are a human talking to another human, we know that we are not perfect. So it's better to have like a frank, human, vulnerable conversation, but a good one, an
Okay.
interesting one, that selling pitch, it's like
Yes.
listen a lot, ask a lot of questions, show curiosity, show interest, instead of, oh, I'm here to sell, I'm going to sell.
Hmm.
And, and just to wrap up, another phrase that we use a lot in Laboratoria, it's a phrase
Hmm.
that it was always hanging on the wall,
Hmm.
is and it actually was said for the first time by a girl in Laboratoria. No, it's like um, is the phrase said in Spanish, and then I'm gonna say it in English. Hazlo, y si te da miedo, hazlo con miedo. Como, do it, and if you're afraid, do it with your fear, but do it. Okay. So,
Inclination towards action.
yes, hazlo y si te da miedo, hazlo con miedo. Yeah.
Something that perhaps could also be useful in this whole framework setting, and something that we talked a little bit about, but it's still useful, is believe that you are there to help the person that is on the other
Yes, yeah,
side.
you're right.
I mean,
You're right.
like truly believe that he needs you as much as you need him, or at least that's what you're gonna figure out. Because
Yeah.
if you believe that you are useful, then it also helps to combat this whole imposter syndrome, because you're no longer worried about the roles. You're more worried about, hey, can I be of help? And let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yes. Yes. The other thing that I will say that is unique to women, okay? Oh, I wouldn't say unique, but more common in women, is that in some spaces we are the only one, okay? And that could happen in tech. You're in a tech team and you're the only girl in that tech team. Or I'm part of a board of directors, so I'm part of a board of director, and I'm one of two women in this board of director, and I'm the youngest. Okay, so that could be very intimidating. Like, I'm the only one here, or I'm the youngest here. Okay, but when that happens, there are other women in other tech teams, in other board of directors, other female founders talking to other investors in other places. You see, you are the only one here, but there are others, only ones here. So you have to connect with these women. You have to,
Great.
you see? Okay. So that's another thing that is super helpful for me. So I have networks of female founders, network of women in tech, network of women in boards, and we support each other. That's super important.
I love that. And that's super practical, because if you're a woman listening and you're figuring out, like, who should I talk to? Why don't you go back and understand if there's another woman in a similar role within the company, which you could connect first, because by default, you already have a common belief or a common struggle that you could start talking about. And then if that's not the case, connect with other women that are in similar roles in other companies, just to talk about what you're struggling with, and just having that conversation is going to be useful to fight this whole imposter syndrome or situation. But it's a very interesting situation,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
immediately relatable, right?
yeah. And never believe that you are in this situation and they gave you the opportunity just because you're a woman. Okay.
Okay.
Never. I mean, it's an advantage that you are a woman many times, because, they want to have more diversity in the tech team, or they want to have more diversity in the board of directors, or they want to have more diversity in the sales team. It's an advantage when the person that hires you wants to have more diversity. But they didn't hire you just for diversity. They hire you because you were as good as other candidates, or even better than other candidates, and you happen to bring diversity. So that's super important to have it clear.
Now, thinking about today and what's challenging about growing sales today, is there anything you feel challenging worth talking about? I mean, any struggle that you're having to grow in scale sales that would be worth talking about?
Yeah, I mean, two things come to my mind that are the day-to-day of Caudal. No, we are selling well in Caudal, but still, I would love to have more attention from my customers and speed from my customers. But it is a reality. It is a reality that big companies, they have different issues to deal with and different things that they are considering to do and to buy. So some points in time, you're going to be the number one, and that's amazing. Okay, like, this is a number one priority right now, and we need Caudal for this. Awesome. But sometimes you're not the number one priority of that person. You're the number two, the number three, the number four, the number five. So it's important to realize that, that you are part of the mix of the responsibilities of this person, of the priorities of this company. And of course, you want to grow in the ladder of priority, okay? But sometimes you're top of the list, sometimes you're lower, okay? And it helps to identify that. I ask this question a lot when I'm meeting with someone. Which are your priorities right now? What do you need to do in your role right now? Which are the priorities that the CEO of the company is saying right now, okay? And doing those questions, I realized, this company, it's gonna buy us right away because we are top in the list, or this company probably will deal first with this SAP integration, or another stuff, and maybe they're gonna be a customer in 1 year, So that's something important to realize and to deal with. Okay.
Okay, so you just said that something that can be challenging sometimes is since you're working with companies that are very big, just
Mm-hmm.
like immediately proportional to the size are the challenges that the person, whomever you're talking to, is going to have, and the CEO of the company is going to have. So all these different priorities, they exist. So you have
Mm-hmm.
two ways to tackle that, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
you're aware of what they are, or you're blindfolded and you don't ask the proper
Exactly.
questions.
You
So
shouldn't be blindfold. Yeah.
you shouldn't be blindfolded. You should ask the proper question. And something we always say, and that's a deal killer, is like one of the things that you need to know before you close a call is like who else should be involved in this conversation
Mm-hmm.
and what do they believe about the issue we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a way to explore
Mm-hmm.
what is important right now and who is also interested in this issue, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
And also the urgency and the importance of the issue, because in Latin America, I have noticed that uh, everyone, I truly, I'm truly being honest. Everyone that I talk with, it's gonna say, Caudal is so interesting, you know? Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. A lot of people in our company do manual work. Yeah, that happens here. So you hear those words, it's like they need caudal. And it's true that they need caudal, but compare that to the other needs and priorities that they have. You see?
Mhm.
Because even when a company needs caudal, that doesn't mean they're going to buy caudal. That doesn't mean that, because they have other priorities and they have limited budget. So you need to understand where your proposal stands in the priority of the company, the decisions makers, and the person you're talking with. Okay.
Amazing. There's
Yeah.
lots of things you just said that's worth
Mhm.
understanding. First of all, you said that um, sometimes you have the impression that the conversation is going in the right direction because someone
Mhm.
is excited. But if you're not diligent about their level of excitement, their level of commitment, the level of priorities, you could very quickly leave that conversation thinking it went well,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
actually they're never going to hear again from them because
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
because you didn't know how important was
Mhm.
the issue for them
Mhm.
and did the proper
Mhm.
questions. And I think
Mhm.
that that's very easy to miss when you're a founder
Mhm.
because you're like so
Mhm.
overly excited that this big
Mhm.
company
Mhm.
has shown interest, but you're
Mhm.
not diligent to know what that
Mhm.
means for them. And you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
to do the right questions to be able to do that. And
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Mhm.
And then you also, we talked again, maybe that's going to be one of the biggest highlights of the show that understand that within a big company, there's lots of stakeholders with
Yeah,
different
that
sets
was
of
going to be my
priorities.
second point. Yeah, yeah.
And you always have to understand what are
Mhm.
the overall priorities of each one of the persons involved and high level just to understand like
Mhm.
what you should expect. Should you
Mhm.
expect like 7 months down the road that they're going to be
Mhm.
closing, or 1 month or two, and so on and so forth? But the worst thing that you can possibly do is not ask the question, in this case,
Mhm.
about priorities and timelines and so on and so
Mhm.
forth.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna do a quick lightning round of questions just to get your top level answer of
Okay.
some things. So
Mhm.
just tell me the first thing that comes in mind.
Okay.
Favorite sales hero?
Um, I really like Sarah Blakely from Spanx. Do you know her?
Okay. Not
Oh.
really. Tell me more.
No, you have to.
What about
She,
her do you love? Hmm.
but she's a solopreneur um, that never received investment, and she became billionaire with Spanx. And Spanx is an underwear and garment company for women, and she's a great seller, and she has a lot of personal stories on how she was so confident in the quality of her product that were panties, basically better
Hmm.
panties, that it
Okay.
didn't the so it's very personal, but women are gonna relate to this. So she used to sell panties that didn't show up the marks. Uh,
Hmm.
so the way he sell it to Neiman Marcus in the US is that she got into the store until someone listened to her, and it was normally a woman responsible of buying suppliers of clothes and garments. And she did a live demo. She was like, okay, look at my pant right now. Can you see the marks of my underwear? Yeah, that's very uncomfortable, right? So I'm going to change. I'm going to put my Spanx and I'm going to be out. How do I look now? Oh my God. Okay, that's the way she sold. You see?
Okay, I have
And
my
she
own take about what happened, but
has.
her being herself, what is one thing that you learned from her that has proven very useful for you in the world of selling?
That you have to go out and show up and sell and be the first promoter of your product. You're not gonna do it like on the comfort of your home on LinkedIn only. It's like you have to go on the street, go where the people are, show them the benefits of your product, and do that not only one time, many times. Because, for example, when Sarah Blakely got the deal of Neiman Marcus, which is like Falabella, but even bigger in
Hmm.
the US. So she was a demo girl. I mean, it's not that she hired a demo girl to be, no, no. She was the demo girl, the owner of the company, with the rack with all the panties that she was selling. And actually, she didn't get the best location in Neiman Marcus because it was a new thing, and she moved her location without asking permission to a better place. She called people, hey, come and see this. And when Neiman Marcus tried to stop her because she was doing the wrong thing, she was selling so much that Neiman Marcus had to give her a bigger space, you see? But it
I love
was
it.
because she was on the ground, on the arena, doing the thing. That's why I love her.
I love it because I know you know this the book of Steve Blank. He always is a
Yeah.
promoter of getting out of the room. I think that this is a perfect story for that because he doesn't
Yeah.
have a great story, a great
Uh,
example, and I think that this is a great example. Like
Sarah Blakely
many
selling
founders
Spanx.
are so comfortable building a product, are so comfortable about being smart about what they're doing, but
Yeah.
they're uncomfortable of selling and they hide for months, and that normally dooms them to failure because they
Yeah.
have to sell.
Yeah. You have to go out. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And you have to follow up. Yeah.
yes, good. I'll
Which,
double down on the
which
follow-up.
honestly, I'm not that good at. My partner Herman is better than myself following up. Yeah. I
Okay.
have to get better on that. And I have all the systems in place to follow up. But sometimes I get frustrated of this company not answering back, or I lost connection. Yeah, I should improve on that one. Follow up is very important.
Do you have any measurement on the average level of follow-ups that these big companies require until they make a deal?
It varies a lot. Yeah, of course we
Okay.
have our measures, but it varies a lot.
It's that it's
But
super important. And
mhm,
a founder which I talked to said, on average, in his case, it takes between 13 and 16 follow-ups. And
yeah,
I just want to double down on what you said. Follow-ups is important, and you don't have to lose faith that the process is going on just
Yeah.
because the people are not answering. They have other issues, as you said. So just be professionally persistent and do it.
Yeah, and not annoying, follow up is not always the same email or an
Hmm.
automated email. Because when that happens,
Yeah.
and it's so I don't want to read this, but for example, I shared a follow up yesterday with a customer, and 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 it wasn't about creating that follow-up. At least I'm not in that level right now. Some point in time, if I have to send 500 emails at the same time, I will do it in an automated way. But right now, I don't automate selling messages or follow-up messages. I do them very personal.
And
Okay.
I want to stress
Mhm,
on the importance of that. So
mhm,
you've had 10 plus years in Laboratoria, 3
mhm,
plus years in Caudal. You're you have led in Laboratoria a 100 people team or plus. Right now in Caudal, you're operating in 4 countries,
mhm.
4 different countries, many companies, and you're still manually doing things that matter. Why? Because people know that it's a
Yes,
freaking
and I
bot.
have tried automations because we sell automation. I
Yeah.
have tried. I have tried, and we have some automations, but they are more internal on information about the deals that we have and in which stage in the funnel they are,
Hmm.
forecast of our sales, different stuff. But we do not send an automated message to potential customers. We
Yes.
have tried it and it didn't work.
Yes,
Okay.
and you may be burning your bridges. And sometimes
Yes,
founders
we
think of
did. We
scaling.
did. We did.
And sometimes founders think of scaling when they don't have a scaling
Yeah.
problem. You need three
No,
clients that pay your bills
exactly.
and move forward.
No,
But
personal
I
personal messages work a lot. Like, hey, I saw this person for your company yesterday. Or I wanted to share with you this recognition that we gave to this customer that is similar to your company. So make it personal. Yeah. Mhm.
make it personal. I love it.
Mhm.
Okay, so going back to the lightning round, cold calling.
Um, Cold calling, yes, we have tried it and it works, but you need to do the right filters,
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
So
Yes.
no, I mean you have if you already know that companies of this sector, of this size, of this country, and this person with this role in this company tends to hire you, you can use those filters in LinkedIn and write them a quick message to see if they're interested in having a call. Yeah.
Great. So
Yeah.
be nuanced about talking to the right person a lot, and then obviously if everything clicks,
Mhm.
then be allow yourself to cold reach, cold call.
Mhm.
If the pain is big enough, they should answer at some extent to a
Yeah, but
personalized message.
before the cold calling, something that works better is to be recommended by someone who knows
Yeah.
you inside the company.
Yes.
Like, so I can call an ex-P&G, that is the leaders of the sales department. He's not gonna be my buyer, but he works in Clorox. And hey, Jesus, we know from P&G, that I have this. Do you know inside Clorox who is the responsible of IT of HR? Can you put me in contact with them? Yeah, that's like a middle point between. You're not doing, cold outreach. You're doing it through a person that knows you.
It's
Mhm,
I mean, if you have what I would say
mhm,
to everyone listening is if you have a way to get a
mhm,
warmer intro,
mhm,
whatever way you can
mhm,
do that first, because that's a better way
mhm,
to be relevant in a conversation.
mhm,
People
mhm.
will always pick up someone they trust, and that's what would be happening reverse engineered. Um, what do you believe is the biggest reason salespeople fail?
I don't know if there is one reason, and um, I think multiple reasons, and I can only think about myself and when I have failed on closing a sale, or or all the things that got together to close a sale, you know. So I think those are the things that we have to talk about. Like, we have to believe in what you're selling. You have to identify the right person and the right moment. And maybe it's the right person, but not the right moment for them. If it is not the right moment, follow up with them. You need to equip them with the right materials and data to convince more people internally, you know. You have to be very methodological. You need to have a method and a system to track all the things that are working and all these materials that are being shared, and the stage where your client is. So it's like you need to have a list of you need to have a pipeline and ensure that that pipeline doesn't dry out. Okay. So it's different things, from the more emotional and passionate and belief to the more methodological and rational ones, and
Okay,
you need to put
so
them
on
all
one
together.
hand, make sure your beliefs are proper in place, and then make sure you're organized enough to make sure
Mhm,
that because
mhm,
you weren't organized about it, you lost a sale, which is like
mhm,
being this whole idea of being professionally persistent is like
mhm,
important.
mhm.
And I think you said it before, but just let me ask you again. What's the favorite question to ask on a sales call?
Mm, what are your priorities right now? Yeah.
What are your
I.
priorities? This is the first time I hear it
Mhm,
from one of our invite,
mhm.
but I really like it. What are your priorities right now?
Yeah, no, what I mean, in your role right now, I mean, what you have to do, what you have to deliver. Mhm. And then
Beautiful.
I ask about the company. Okay. And what about your company? What is your CEO prioritizing right now, or your
Great. What are your
leadership?
priorities right now? What are your CEO's priorities right now?
Mm-hmm.
Great. That's pretty much what our lightning round covers. So, Ana Maria, we've covered a lot of ground. I'm gonna try to make a honest summary. Please let me know if I
Okay.
pulled it straight, and if you think that anything I'm missing out, anything important, let me know. So,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, we talked about your big journey in selling from the different roles you've had. And the first thing we stopped to talk about was how important it is to have a strong belief about what you do. Because when you have a strong belief about what you do, and this can be reflected on a flag you carry, then
Mm-hmm.
you translate that belief in the call and you connect through your beliefs, and that's going to make things flow
Mm-hmm.
better than if you didn't. Like if you go to a
Mm-hmm.
call and you're not your first believer, then half of the work that you're doing there is not
Mm-hmm.
right just because you don't believe on what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing and the impact that you could be
Mm-hmm.
having. So that's something
Mm-hmm.
we talked about. We also talked about how important it is to talk about your beliefs, right? I mean, this whole idea of a flag, this whole idea of the potential impact your company can have in an
Mm-hmm.
overall good, like allowing yourself to talk about that persistently can be something that gives you space to talking at stages or to just unlocking conversations that you wouldn't have otherwise. So instead of
Mm-hmm.
being like this recorder that's only offering your services at a cost,
Mm-hmm.
talk about something more important than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you will
Oh,
likely be
of
talking
course,
about what
connected to
is,
your service, no? But you talk about the bigger layer. Yeah.
yeah, about the bigger issue and be opinionated about it. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you have a big opinion, how
Mm-hmm.
can you tell? Because you're gonna have lovers and haters. And if you're at that
Mm-hmm.
point, then certainly you're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something founders don't typically think about because they're always stressed about the product, but it's the long game and it's gonna work for you down the road if you actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we spoke about the importance of asking about priorities, like
Mm-hmm.
really understanding that in a very big, complex conversation, which is a big corporate call where there are many stakeholders, something that you cannot allow yourself not to do is ask about what are their priorities and what are the overall priorities. Because if you don't know what that is, you're going to have a very poor sensation of
Mhm.
how important this is within the company. And maybe you will be expecting to close something that's not closable in the time horizon you have or
Mhm.
otherwise, and many
Mhm.
other things. So if you have to
Mhm.
remember one thing of that, is like making sure you do ask about the priorities,
Mhm.
about whomever's in front of you, and ideally all the stakeholders down to the CEO of the company.
Mhm.
Um, that's pretty much my biggest takes. I don't know if you would like to add anything to what I just said.
I will just add like get out of your comfort situation. It's not
Mhm.
like sometimes we as and I get it. No, sometimes we as founders get so immersed in our product, in our computer, in the place we work, and you have to go out where your audience and your potential customers are, and not only to be a speaker in a conference, sometimes to listen, to understand what's going on in their world, to read the papers that they're reading, you have
Mhm.
to be where they are, no, not on the comfort of your place only. Yeah.
I love it. Be where they
Mm,
are, get out of the
mm,
room, and if you want a good
mhm.
story, go to Sarah Blakely, which
Uh-huh.
has a great story to tell
It's
about
amazing.
what it
Yeah.
takes to really be out of the room. And
Hmm.
then this little hack that you shared for women, that just because you're a woman and you're struggling, uh, don't feel that you're alone.
No.
Think that there are other women like yourself which you could be connecting to, or
Yes.
within the company or out of the company, and
Hmm.
that will help yourself to move faster. So I
Yes.
love it. Let's say that anyone that's listening is like fascinated by your story and wants to reach out. How could anyone reach out to you if obviously if you're up to it?
No, of course. I think LinkedIn is the easiest way. It's the only social network that I have. I
Okay.
don't wanna I don't wanna get distracted with the other ones. So they can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm very responsive on LinkedIn. You can share my LinkedIn there when you share the podcast. It's Ana María Martínez Franklin.
Okay, Ana María Martínez Franklin. So, thank you very much. I really loved our conversation. Hope you had as much fun as I had. I'm definitely sure that lots of insights for people who are listening to us, and to everyone that's listening. Remember to believe more in yourself, because that may be the biggest step into becoming your best salesperson.